We got a new snapshot today, guys. This is 25W09A, which will be for the upcoming 1.21.5 update. Now, when this actual update will come out is not known, but I did put out a poll asking what you guys thought, and 50% of you guys thought it was going to be in around 1 month's time, with 14% of you guys thinking that it would never come. I really enjoyed reading you guys' response, so make sure you guys are subscribed with the bell notification set to all. That way you have access to all of these polls. Hello there, Ray here. We got the long-awaited parody when it comes to Bedrock Edition, and that is the fallen trees. This is where the game will naturally generate stumps as well as fallen chunks of logs, which represents a tree that has fallen over. And these logs can have some mushrooms growing on them. This would be a good way to actually collect these items without having to go to like the jungle biome or swamp. And fallen trees can be found in 4 different variations of wood, being the oak, the birch, the jungle, and the spruce. And they can be found in any biome that has those trees, with the exceptions being meadows, which are pretty bare to start with, bamboo jungles, which are full of bamboo, rivers, which typically don't have trees, grove biomes, which have snow, so that don't really make sense, and flower forests, but flower forests will still have the birch version, just not the oaks. Now, this generation is considered a feature, so you can go ahead and spawn them in. Now, when it comes to the birch trees, there is 2 different types. You could get the smaller birch ones, or you can get the bigger ones. And this is represent that birch trees can get kind of tall. So now if you have any friends that live in floating trees, you could just ban them from chopping down normal trees and make them use these fallen logs. Speaking of free wood on the ground, have you left a free like on the video? Even though this is kind of a small change added into Java Edition, of course Bedrock had this for a really long time. I have to admit, it does bring a lot of life to the forest. And it definitely seems like there is a theme with this update. We notice we're getting a lot of features that are just bringing kind of more vegetation and life to pre-existing biomes. Personally, I think this is a great thing to add into Minecraft, especially when you're going exploring. Everything just doesn't look like a copy-paste. But for this to be the main theme of this update seems a little bit odd. Then again, they're no longer calling them updates, they're calling them drops, which is even more confusing. But what do you think about this? And also, do you think we're going to get more parity between Bedrock and Java? They also changed the Firefly bush, and now it can generate inside of mangrove swamps rather than just only the normal ones. This will only happen if it's near water, but this is actually the same biome where frogs naturally generate. So we actually have frogs with the actual fireflies in the same biome now, even though frogs no longer will actually eat fireflies, because apparently some fireflies are actually poisonous, and that's the whole reason why they didn't come out with fireflies back when they added in frogs. But I guess we still got them as this lovely bush that produces particles. Also, if you're wondering about the strange spawn eggs, make sure you check out last week's snapshot. And very rarely can you find the firefly bush here in Badlands. Once again, they'll only spawn near water. They changed leaf litter so that it's similar to grass. When you click on it with the block, it'll just remove it and place in your block. Now the same thing for the leaf litter, so if you click, it'll just replace it. That way, if you're placing out blocks, you don't have to actually come in and first remove all the leaf litter before placing down your structure. Plus, this also makes it consistent with all the other vegetational blocks. Leaf litter also got changed, so you can no longer place it on top of stuff like fences or walls, which looked really cool, but yeah, doesn't really make much sense. Don't forget, you can already build my leaf litter farm right now in preparation for the update. There's quite a few vegetational blocks that can be placed on farmland, but for some reason there were some inconsistencies and dead bushes weren't able to get placed on there. So today they added that as well, which is pretty cool. I'm still hoping they make a way so we can turn the normal bush into a dead bush, because these bushes are renewable, but these ones are not. So if you're watching Mojang, make that possible somehow. They fixed the problem which comes to the recent change where they made it so that things can actually grow in any loaded chunks. They don't actually have to be near the player. This means that you can put like your crop farms here in spawn chunks and they would just keep on growing. The problem is that they accidentally made it so that it wouldn't just apply to entity processing chunks, which are illustrated by these green ones, but it's also applying to the outer chunks, which are these block processing or redstone processing chunks, also known as lazy chunks. If you guys don't know, there's different types of chunks and they get loaded differently and work differently. I cover that all in this video here. So they went ahead and made sure that plants don't grow in these chunks. Otherwise, you can imagine a cactus would grow, drop an item, and then the item would just sit there and never be able to despawn because it's not entity processing. So this is actually a good fix, and they will continue to work inside of loaded chunks, such as like your spawn chunks or chunk loaders. If you guys want to learn about how you can do all the different types of chunk loading, that's also covered in that video. Speaking of crop growing chunks, make sure to check out my upcoming video where I put every single playerless farm inside of spawn chunks, including all of the new crop farms. And I've actually been live streaming this process, so check me out after watching this video with a link down below. Goats will once again ram towards armor stands. You can build my goat horn farm here once again where we have an armor stand, and then it tricks them so they actually path fine along the side and drop down to the second layer where they remove the next horn and then are removed from the game. You guys know how sometimes you can fly your Elytra into water and then you're just kind of like sinking in the water and you can swim around like normal, but at any point within the water your Elytras are still activated, so you can actually just use your rockets to fly out of it. Well, this has finally been changed today, so you can no longer do it. They now made it so when you summon in different entities, there's going to be default for different characteristics of them. For the most part, this shouldn't change vanilla, but if you do have some entities that are glitched and you somehow removed some of their values, this would just give those entities values by default. But if this was coded incorrectly, this shouldn't really change anything. This also includes block entity data, so like in this video here where we removed block entity data, you get some really glitched out blocks. This would come in and give them a default value, which could affect those blocks, but I don't think it's going to affect older blocks that are in your world. Just newer ones that get placed down without this information. All in all, this shouldn't really affect anything if this is coded incorrectly, but if they made any mistakes, this could allow some really cool glitches. They also made some improvements when it comes to working with NBT as well as SNBT. Now you have a bit more freedom when it comes to expressing these values. And several other bugs were also fixed this week, mostly related to visuals around the beacon beam. Also, the website where you can report bugs has been moved over, and once again you can start reporting bugs, although the layout is different, so it might take a while to get used to. Now come chat with me as I move all these farms into spawn chunks. And thank you to my supporters here, as this really helps me out and you get some cool perks along with it. Bye bye!